Hello YouTube and welcome to another video with me over the line. At the moment we are in the BMW M1 Cup. We're going to show you guys the braking points and turning in references so you guys can get at the front of the grid for this Sunday when we take this car around this track on Sunday at Checker Flag Endurance. We're at the Silverstone historic Grand Prix circuit, which basically changes the club corner, the last corner of the circuit, and the start finish line is the old classic Luffield on towards Cobb's Corner as turn 1. So as usual we're going to go in slow motion and then fast forward to normal speed for when we do our fast lap, so you guys get an idea of what you need to do. However, straight into it, turn 1, Cobb's Corner, very difficult to master. BMWs are not renowned for great braking performance, so as opposed to everything else modern, you brake fairly early, just before you get to this right hand corner board on the left hand side. You're going to be braking from 4th to 3rd for this particular corner, and you're going to be waiting fairly late to turn in. Usually when you're at the 50-meter board is when you should start thinking about turning in. So you're hugging the inside, letting the car just naturally decelerate, waiting for that moment to accelerate again. A good way to think about the centre of the corner itself, or the middle, is that Silverstone are very kind and they've offered these sleeping policemen, or these red bands, so to speak, and they're a good idea of when you say, right, I'm in the middle of the corner now, so you can usually use those to your advantage. So accelerating out now, you want to go over to the left hand side. Be mindful not to carry too much speed, as it will invalidate your lap if you do so. So we've just hit the curbing on the left hand side in 3rd gear, and we're now coming up to the historic Maggots and Beckett's combination. The time that we've set here for this video, I don't actually have anyone to compare it against, so I'm literally the first BMW M1 Cup to go around this particular layout, so please do bear in mind. Right, Maggots and Beckett's now. Start decelerating or start coming off the throttle, not fully, just gradually, because what you will find is that the BMW's aero makes it quite fixated. It kind of wants to go straight when it's at high speed, which you will be doing at this point. So in order to generate that tiny bit of turn in, just come off the throttle a tiny bit, because you want to be hitting the curbing, going the wrong way, hitting the curbing on the left hand side here, not the red curbs, just the black and white one. So here's your braking point. You want to go from 4th down to 3rd. You can carry it in 4th, but it's a lot harder to get right each time because it's not a good reference for speed. And you want to stay over on the left, and you want to think about turning in now. Good reference point. Red curbing on the left hand side has now finished. It's gone, it's behind you. Now's the time to start thinking about turning into the combination of corners, and you want to be able to hug the black and white curbing again. This is crucial because you're going to be carrying so much speed through here, and you want to be mid corner when you come up to the rest of the corners. You want a tiny bit of acceleration in between those two corners, but not a lot, because you want to be essentially maintaining that same speed. And once you do a few laps, you'll get an idea, or you'll know what I'm talking about, because you just get a sense of how much the car can handle. So you'll still be in 3rd gear. The poles that are up ahead, these are good turning in references. If you turn in now, you're just going to plough right into them. So just imagine that it's a wall. That's the best way to describe it. Just imagine that these bollards or poles replicate a wall. You want to go around the wall. So using the car's deceleration, no further brakes, turn in, go around the wall and hug that inside line. You want to be mid-circuit again, as before with the previous corner, and you want to be coming off the gas, because the last part of this Maggots and Beckett's combination is a fair bit slower than the rest of it. So still 3rd gear, go around the wall and the bollards, and you want to start accelerating now. The track actually widens up as it goes onto the straight. Early acceleration here is essential because you're going down now to Stowe, and that's a long straight that you do not want to miss out on. Manage the throttle. These things are like rails as well, by the way, so downforce is not going to be an issue, I don't think, especially not at this speed. And you're basically done for sector 1 now. Down towards the main straight. under the Silverstone sign. Engine is screaming away, and your braking point is just before the board on, or it is the board on the left hand side. This is Stowe, it's uphill, it's almost a 180 right hand corner. Really fun to drive on. Really great corner. Whoever invented this, please give them a medal. You want to be braking from 5th, because that's the gear you'll be in after the straight, down into 3rd. So you're braking heavily until you get around to about here. This is when you start coming off your brakes, because instead of going straight ahead, which is where the brakes are going to take you if they stay fully applied, you want to start turning in, because you're aiming for this bollard on the right hand side here. 3rd gear, just let the car decelerate on its own. You're not braking. Wait for those sleeping policemen on the right, on the inside, the red curbing, and accelerate. You've hit the centre one. You don't need to slam it down. This isn't Formula 1, you can't get away with that. And you can now start to reapply your throttle. Good reference point, you should be on the curbing on the left hand side. That's an identification of good speed. Okay, now here's the tricky part. It took me a while to get used to this. The historic layout is not the typical hairpin straight ahead, because if you look ahead, there's just simply a nice red barrier plumped smack bang in the middle of the track. And if you hit that, then you can say goodbye to your BMW engine and the rest of the car with it, and possibly your arms, because that thing is not going to do you any good. Instead, the track actually goes fairly fast to the left, and it's blind. As you can see, you can't really see it. So you want to start turning in around now. You could probably get away with a bit later, to be honest. So the reference point I would advise is the board on the left hand side, just before it. And I'll be more over to the right hand side right now. But it's going to be a 3rd gear corner, coming off the gas, coming off, and hug this inside line on the left hand side, because you are going to be carrying more speed onto the left. This is where you rejoin the typical circuit, and you want to be maintaining that speed. Carry the car over to the left, waiting for that right moment to accelerate onto the new pit straight, and that's about now. Maintain that speed, stay off the red curbing on the inside line. 3rd gear still, and you should be hitting the left as you come out of the corner. Almost done now, onto Village and the rest of the old new bunch of corners that have been introduced. Braking point is here. 4th gear. It's a lot later than you'd expect in from a GT3 car, but we're not in one of those. We're in a BMW M1 car, and the brakes are not great. So braking heavily until around now. No more braking required. Still in 4th gear. Okay, let the car decelerate. Just let it do its own thing. You're not accelerating anymore, and just wait for that apex to run past you around here. And this is when you can start thinking about accelerating again. The corner's now past you. You've hit the apex, and just start to accelerate and come out of the corner. What you want to be, where you want to be on track, is as much centre as possible, because that means you can take this next corner now at full speed. In the BMW, you can't accelerate that much. In terms of, you won't get a lot of turning at high speed. That's just a fact with a BMW car. So what you want to do is stay mid-circuit as much as possible, and then it will make this corner a hell of a lot easier. You should pretty much be full throttle through here, although if you are starting to go straight off, you're getting a bit of understeer, come off the gas a tiny bit, and that will generate the turning you need. Over to the left hand side now, braking once you're in line with here's your braking point. From 4th gear down to 2nd, you want to stay on the left hand side of the track and let the car naturally decelerate. You're braking heavily for this though. You're waiting for that apex to appear, which is around now. No more brakes anymore. You should be completely finished. Let the car just decelerate. That will create more turning for you. Mid-circuit exit, that's important, because you're going to go straight over to the right hand side now, as you can clearly see. And this is the trickiest corner. Off the gas pedal, no braking required, because it will just lose you too much time. Let the car decelerate. Tyres are going to be screeching away, and you want to be able to hit that black and white curbing on the inside line. And that's when you start to accelerate. Once you've passed that, you can then slowly apply the throttle again and carry enough speed to get you over to the right hand side again. Stay there, because what comes next is a left kink, which is going to be full throttle through here. You can hear we're still in second gear, up to third now. There it is. It took a while, but we got there in the end. I think I might have missed a gear. Yep. You're now on to the Sector 3 part of the track, and you're coming up towards Brooklands, Woodcote and Luffield, which is the last section of corners prior to getting across the line to start all over again. Under the Silverstone sign, there's a fair few of these laid around the track that like to advertise themselves. And your braking point is coming up on the right hand side now, which is around here. You're using the curbing on the right hand side as your reference. You're going to be in 4th or 5th gear at this time, depending on what car. Well, you're in the BMW, but depending on the exit you had. So you want to be braking heavily, but stay on the right hand side of that track, because the turn in is a lot later than you think for this corner. Down into 3rd gear. Just slowly come off the brake, because you want to generate that turn in now. You want to stay mid-circuit, change down to 2nd at low revs to generate that bit of turn in if you need it. Don't do it unnecessarily otherwise, and you want to be able to hit that bollard that was on the inside that we passed there, which is this little friend. This is basically the apex. This is your reference point. You're now past the apex of this corner. As you can see, it's fairly late into the corner. So that's why it's important to carry that speed through until you get to this point. Now you can start accelerating again, and you should be mid-circuit upon exiting this corner. And that's the reason why you do it late, because it's in a good position for the last corner now. And funny enough, the last corner leads on to the straight. So you're staying in 2nd gear or 3rd, whichever you've chosen to go in. Personally, I would choose 2nd gear. Let the car just naturally decelerate. You're going fairly wide to start with, but that's because the apex is once again quite late. That's it there in the centre. That's the apex there, and now you can start to think about accelerating out onto the main straight, on to another lap at full speed. So that is walkthrough complete at slow motion. We're now going to go at normal pace, just to give you guys an idea of what it feels like. So stay tuned if you want to see that, and here we go. Okay, so that was a full lap of the historic version of Silverstone Grand Prix. I hope it did help you guys get faster for this Sunday's race at Checker Flag Endurance. Join us at 8 PM UK time if you are interested in joining. All are welcome. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you there. Goodbye.